The previous episode ended with Kokoro fighting Kaiju number 9 to help Kafka, until after Kokoro managed to launch an attack on Kaiju number 9 with the defense force flow axe technique she named Daruma Otoshi. In the end, Kokoro managed to give Kafka the opportunity to change to Kaiju mode. But when Kafka just wanted to change, suddenly Kafka saw a shadow of himself who was being controlled by Kaiju number 8, then killed Kokoro. The story continues with Kafka, who is very surprised when he sees the shadow of himself who has killed Kokoro, making Kafka again fail to change to Kaiju mode, while at the time, Kafka just realized that the reason he always fails to change is not because of Kaiju number 9, but because of the fear of being controlled by Kaiju. We can see Kaiju number 9, who is already preparing to launch his counterattack on Kokoro and Kafka, until it makes Kokoro's weapon destroyed and Kafka is also seriously injured. Kafka told Kokoro, it's the fear of himself that he doesn't dare to make a full change to Kaiju mode. But after Kafka saw Kokoro, who was still standing against Kaiju number 9 while saying, "So what? Don't underestimate me. Don't underestimate Captain Mina, Vice Captain Hashina, Ichikawa and other friends, and most importantly, yourself. Don't underestimate the members of the defense force." Kafka, who heard it, finally realized that what Kokoro said was true, even though Kokoro was a very strong and cool person. So how could someone like him kill Kokoro? From here, Kafka tried to believe in his colleagues and would change to Kaiju mode once again. Until after Kafka released the Kaiju power inside him and successfully transformed into Kaiju number 8. Then Kokoro said, "You are always making others wait, Kafka Hibino." The scene switches to the other members of the defense force who are also still struggling to deal with the attacks from the Ant Kaiju. Hasegawa says, "It could be bad if the battle area gets bigger, so don't let these monsters get out of the eviction area." While Sinonome says that they need something to change the situation because these Kaiju are endless. Finally, they hear a report from the strategy room that Kaiju number 8 has appeared at the Western extermination site, making their battle plan switch to Phase 2. On the other hand, we can again see Kokoro and Kafka in Kaiju number 8 mode, who are preparing to continue their battle against Kaiju number 9, after Kaiju number 9 says, "It's true," as he thought that Kafka was Kaiju number 8. Kaiju number 9 immediately used his ability to revive the Kaiju ants that had been defeated. Then, he also changed the form of Kaiju ants to have wings, while Kokoro still did not think that Kaiju number 9 was still hiding his strength. Suddenly, Kokoro was surprised by Kafka, who touched his shoulder while thanking Kokoro. Kafka said, actually, he still doesn't fully believe in himself, but even so, it feels like now, he can believe in all his colleagues with all his heart. But when Kafka wanted to ask Kokoro for help to take care of the Ant Kaiju so that he could focus on facing Kaiju number 9, suddenly Kokoro became annoyed with Kafka, because how dare Kafka tell him to take care of the weak Kaiju? So Kokoro also said, "Watch out, if you lose I will kill you." Then Kafka replied, "Yes, I will beat him up." Kafka ran past the Ant Kaiju in front of him. Then Kokoro also shot at them until Kafka managed to reach Kaiju number 9. Kaiju number 9 then said, "Before this you have made it very difficult for me, but after that incident I have been reborn." We can also see Kaiju number 9, who locked Kafka's movements and immediately prepared an attack for him, but when Kaiju number 9 arrogantly said, "Now I am strong enough to kill you." At that moment, it turned out that Kafka had actually launched his attack first until he managed to seize the core of the Kaiju ant ridden by Kaiju number 9. Kafka immediately destroyed the core while saying, "After seeing your fight against my Kokoro, I am sure that your core is inside the ant's body." While Kaiju number 9 once again launched his attack on Kafka with successive shots using his forefinger, Kafka quickly hit each shot while saying in his mind, "I realized after that incident, apparently I haven't released the true power of Kaiju number 8 at all. How ironic. After my consciousness was taken over, It turned out that I even understood how to use this body. We can also see Kafka, who continues to avoid Kaiju number 9's shots by running through the buildings there, until when Kaiju number 9 thinks that Kafka has been cornered when he jumps into the air, unexpectedly by Kaiju number 9. It turns out that Kafka can also manipulate the energy in his legs to be like a rocket that can shoot quickly down, thus making Kaiju number 9 unable to escape when Kafka launches his punch. Even because of the strength of Kafka's punch, Kaiju number 9 and his ants are instantly crushed to formlessness. Seeing that incident, suddenly everyone was very surprised and also wondered what is the real power of Kaiju number 8. But even though the attack had indeed destroyed Kaiju number 9's body, it turned out that Kaiju number 9 was still not defeated, because he could still regenerate even though it was not perfect. Kaiju number 9 then tried to communicate with his clone named Beta to unite with him. Even though Kaiju number 9 had forced him to unite right now, it turned out that his clone did not want to unite with Kaiju number 9 because he was learning through his battle against Captain Narumi. Hasegawa asked Narumi what the situation was now, and what they should do if Kaiju number 8 went on a rampage, because after all they could not continue to leave this problem to the Kokoro. Then Narumi replied that he would be there soon. Narumi began to release power to the 98% level to face the Kaiju Beta he was fighting. Without further ado, Narumi immediately launched his attack on the Kaiju Beta ant with his sword slash, until when the Kaiju Beta realized that Narumi's sword not only slashed but also burned. As a result, it took time to recover the wound from the slash. Then Kaiju Beta also planned to create a distance from Narumi to shoot, but unexpectedly by Kaiju Beta, it turned out that Narumi's attack could be used to shoot, until Kaiju Beta was even shot first by Narumi. Narumi continues to launch her attacks on Kaiju Beta with slashes and shots repeatedly. But because Kaiju Beta can also move quickly, so none of Narumi's attacks managed to hit Kaiju Beta. Even now, Kaiju Beta has also finished learning Narumi's abilities. Kaiju Beta then began to launch his explosive attack on Narumi to retaliate. Although Narumi could still avoid the explosive attack, it turned out that this Kaiju Beta had made his body spread in all directions like the roots of a plant to launch his explosive attack on Narumi from all sides. Seeing that incident, suddenly Akira became very worried about Narumi's condition. Keiji said, "It looks like he evolved in the middle of the fight." Then Isao also said, "From the beginning his form was different from what was written in the Division 3 report. He was able to blend in with humans to learn and continue to evolve. Kaiju number 9 is a monster like a virus." While the Kaiju think that Kaiju number 9 is a threat because he has a uniqueness that has never existed in Kaiju before. Suddenly they were surprised by Narumi's voice saying, "That sounds scary too, but you don't need to worry because I am a much more dangerous threat." Kaiju Beta, who saw Narumi's appearance, was surprised because his attack turned out to be ineffective. Not to mention when Narumi's combat suit had started to heat up and his eyes also seemed to change like the gaze of a monster. Again, Kaiju Beta was again surprised by Narumi, who managed to pierce his body with just one shot, even though Kaiju Beta was very sure that he should have been able to predict Narumi's attack. And it turns out that the eyes possessed by Narumi are the oldest weapon of the Japanese defense forces that have been made from the retina of the number 1 Kaiju, so that he can see the future. Narumi once again managed to launch his shots at Kaiju Beta, making Kaiju Beta even more confused, why he could not avoid attacks that should have been predicted by him. Kaiju Beta thought, "Is it because the speed of the attack is increasing?" But when Kaiju Beta tried to avoid the next attack, but still hit. In the end, Kaiju Beta began to realize that it turned out that from the beginning this Narumi did attack in the direction of his movement. Isao explained, "The Kaiju number 1 is a Kaiju who is able to see the future, He is able to visualize the signals emitted by the brain of a living being when it is about to make a move, so that way he is able to read the direction of his opponent's movements, until the Kaiju number 1 is claimed to be a terrible monster that is recorded as the owner of an unavoidable attack. Meanwhile, when Narumi was able to see that there was one point that Kaiju Beta's brain must have passed through, and that was the core of his body, Narumi immediately launched his final attack on the Kaiju Beta with the Defense Force Bayonet technique, which he named Multiple Slashes, until Narumi managed to cut every part of the Kaiju Beta's body. In the end, the report on Captain Narumi and Kaiju number 8 who defeated the main Kaiju was conveyed to all members of the defense forces. Even the signal of the resurrected companion Kaiju began to disappear one by one. From this incident, the battle should have been considered over and won by the defense forces. When Isao saw the Kokoro, who remained alert to continue the extermination operation because there were still monsters left, Isao did not expect that his daughter had really grown into a strong figure, as well as Narumi and Kafka. According to Isao, the current young generation is always full of surprises because they can always exceed their expectations so easily. Hasegawa said in his mind, "It's surprising that even though there were 2 numbered kaiju that appeared at the same time, but only 2 lines of defense were successfully penetrated. The losses we suffered were so small that it was unbelievable. So this is the strongest unit that Chief Commander Isao Shinomiya wants to realize." Back to Isao's side, he who at that time saw the extermination mission in Shinagawa had been successfully carried out. Then he immediately gave his praise to Narumi, Kafka, and also Kokoro by saying, "Good job." Kokoro seemed to be touched because this was the first time she heard praise directly from his father. But right when Isao returned to give orders to secure the location by prioritizing the safety of the population. On the other hand, Narumi even felt something odd. Narumi, who remembered the words of Kaiju number 9, who previously said that he would kill Kaiju number 8 and then seize the power of the toughest Kaiju ever. Then Narumi was curious what Kaiju number 9's real purpose was. Did he really come just to kill Kaiju number 8? Or did he have another purpose? Until everyone was surprised by the security system that suddenly detected the signal of the appearance of another Kaiju number 9. Then Kaiju number 9, who had previously been defeated by Kafka, also said, "Unfortunately, I failed to kill Kaiju number 8, but my other goal was successfully achieved, seizing the power of the toughest Kaiju ever." In the end, everything became clear. It turned out that the real purpose of Kaiju number 9 was none other than to seize the power of Kaiju number 2, which is currently owned by the strongest warrior of mankind, Isao Shinomiya.